Hey everybody, it's Bust with Battles with Bust number 402, and today we're going to be doing battle with Teemo, Elise, Burn. And so before we stop and talk about the Burn deck, spoiler season is here. I didn't catch the name of the new set. It's probably Cats in the Jungle, Animals in the Wild, something like that, but the spoilers have begun. And we'll be getting to play with these new cards on this upcoming Wednesday, just under a week from now. And so, with the initial spoil, the initial release, Riot has shown us the new keyword ambush, which is you can only have one ambush unit on the board. An ambush unit costs 2 mana, and it is a base stat 2/2. And then, with that 2/2 on the board, they all generate a burst spell that allows you to transform that 2/2 into a different version of the unit. And so, if you're very familiar with Magic, or even a little familiar with Magic, you may remember the morph mechanic to where you could put a unit in your hand face down on the board as a 3-cost 2/2, and then it had a morph cost that would transform it or flip it into a different ability. And so, very similar here in the Legends of Runeterra, the transform, the ambush ability puts this 2/2 shadow in the brush on the board, and then by putting this on the board, you're given a burst card that has the transform effect on it. We'll move forward and talk about more of those just in a moment. But to me, the key thing to note, the big difference between LOR and Magic is number one, the cost. A 2/2 for 2 mana is just much more relevant than a 3-cost 2/2. In the lands of Magic, the morph mechanic was pretty much not played in standard. There would always be just a couple of cards, like in the initial run of it when I played the Angel, the big Angel with Lifesteal, Exalted Angel, was that the one? That made the cuts, and then there was always some kind of like disenchant effect that would make the cut, but it was a very non-effectual keyword in the game of Magic, just because the cards were just so slow and so off pace in terms of stats. I really don't expect that to be the case in Runeterra. A 2/2 for 2 mana is quite close to being the real deal, especially if you're going to be able to transform it for 0 or 1 mana. That's just a very nice pacing to kind of have go with that, and you can only have one on the board at the same time. And so there's going to be kind of a mini game for you in determining which ambush unit you want to put on the board, because as my understanding goes, once you have one on the board, you can't play any other ones. And so if you're playing a deck that has 3 or 4 or 5 different ambush units in it, you play the wrong one first, then you're kind of stuck with those other ones in your hand, in the sense that you can't play them down as your ambush unit. And so that's a nice little heads up, a nice little primer. If you would like to get more in depth with the rules, Brian Koplek, one of the devs over at Riot, posted a thread on Twitter doing a little Q&A on how this ability actually works, and it's much more concise, much more straightforward, and the level of understanding you should be able to get there. And so he's at B Koplek on the old Twitter. You can find his name up here at the top if you're not quite familiar with using Twitter. And so, to speak to some of these cards as they are being released, in terms of the ambush cards, I'll try to pull them up. As we can see, we have the Blimp Pack Poacher, an ambush 3 that when it transforms, it gets to remove a unit out of combat. I think this one is reasonable. I'm not super impressed with this one, but there's kind of a few things that tie into a card like the Blimp Pack Poacher. Number one, it's kind of interesting getting to split the cost of a card over various turns, right? So if you want to think in the terms of this being very similar to something like what's that 6 mana Demacia card that captures a unit now? She just got reduced in cost to 6 as a 4/4, whatever her name is. You have to pay that cost all at once, right? And so she can be more challenging to actually get on the board and doing what you want. Whereas with the Blimp Pack Poacher, you can play 2 real mana for it and then flip it for 3 spell mana. And so you get a little bit more agency in deciding when you want to actually flip this unit, making it much more priced in terms of a good removal spell. The other big thing for the Blimp Pack Poacher is Shurima removal is terrible, right? There are no good removal spells within Shurima. You're basically stuck to either like the Zerath Blast, which you can't even play in standard, and then things like Quicksand and Combat Tricks and minus attack abilities, no real removals. And so seeing Capture come into Shurima, kind of interesting seeing them get removal in that sense, and then also this being one of their premier removal spells just because they don't have any more. And so interesting play coming out of him. Otherwise, there's a few more to take a peek at here. The Paka Cub, which has a lot of value potential attached to it. And the other thing to take note of with the Pocket Cub is it just has a ton of keywords. It has Fearsome, it has Ambush, it has the Cat subtype, then it has this Nexus Strike ability. And so there's a lot going on with this card. Having any card that can generate more cards is something that's always kind of interesting. And Fearsome is something that's kind of interesting as well in the lands of Shurima, given that there's been kind of this sub-theme with Nasus running around and Rite of Domination, and being able to have Fearsomes and then minus attack your opposing units. And so if those themes continue to show, this card might just have enough keywords and enough abilities and enough stats attached to it to where it just does so much that a lot of decks are really wanting it, right? It has Cat, it has Fearsome, Ambush is the spell thing into hand. That's one ability. Transform is another ability, going from the hidden in the bush to the ambush side, and then the Nexus Strike summoning an additional unit. And so at face value, it doesn't seem like much, but this dude does an actual ton of stuff. And so I wouldn't be surprised to see this be a real, not the like high impact component to a deck, but the thing that really fuels its success, the guy that kind of sits in the back line that doesn't get the credit that really deserves it. Otherwise, interesting things to kind of look at being in the all-terrain trooper, very similar to Ruin Runner in the sense that when he comes into play or when he's transformed, he gets to give the weakest enemy vulnerable. And so he doesn't do anything with landmarks, but if you mess up your ambushes, you can still play him at a reasonable value. He does have ambush 0, so if we're playing some kind of transformed deck, we aren't getting really invested in making these abilities work. He's just a good value all around, another kind of interesting space. And so looking at these 3 cards, I'm interested to see, like I know that in the previous sets, there's been units like Chief Nakotak, that give your stuff bonuses if you're able to do a transform. And if we're looking towards transform decks, the ones in the past were always kind of turdy to me. It was like a very high impact ramp style thing with the transforms to where you play like the Bitsy Lizard, whatever the 1/2 for 2 mana was, and then if you dealt the damage, it got upgraded into a 3/4. It's nice to have these kind of more even keel, just good all around cards like the all-terrain trooper if you're going to be making a transform deck work. And so very interesting across all of those cards. It's tough to kind of initially rate these given that we don't know what exists across the rest of the set and what else we're going to be seeing, but I think these all have some pretty interesting abilities attached to them. Some of these other ones showing up, Anura and Froop, another one very interesting. Anytime a card in the game lets you cheat at mana, you have to give it a little bit of respect. And so as we've run through the times of having cards like Back Alley Bar just being complete nonsense, that's a kind of like the height of cheating things into play. But even looking at a more tame card like Bandle City Mayor, those minus abilities really add up over the course of a few turns, and so he's been a big deal. The Lantern Fairy, whatever he's called, had to have been nerfed a few times, and so you always have to give a little bit of pause and a little bit of note when a card like this comes into play and has the ability to cheapen up all of your other cards. Also has the reptile keyword attached to it. Don't know what the keyworded subtypes are really going to matter for, because we haven't seen them up to this point, but I would say that this is another real strong build around card, even though her stats aren't as monstrous. I'm curious if there's going to be some kind of subtype theme that really pushes up the stats so that she's very frequently going to be a 3/3, which would just be nutsos, or if Riot kind of learned their lesson from Bandle City Mayor and just toned her down right from the start. It'd be interesting to see, but very powerful card nonetheless. As far as these other ones go, Big Game Tycoon, I don't have high hopes for this one. He's going to be in that space to where we see the Bard card, whatever that thing is that lets you generate 1,000,000 chimes. Like if you're in the space of casual decks or Path of Champions, the Big Game Tycoon might really have your name on it. But as far as competitive play goes, a 5/6 for 7 that doesn't immediately impact the board doesn't really do enough. And so I'm sure that this guy is most certainly going to be at the center of a lot of highlight reel plays and a lot of highlight reel decks, but in terms of competitive play, don't see it with him. And then last but not least, we have two more down here at the bottom. Bristlehog is something that strikes me as having an exceptional amount of potential, even just in terms of, what was this other guy's name? The all-terrain trooper. If we just want to piece together this initial curve of Bristlehog on turn 1 with the trooper on turn 2, and then immediately transforming the trooper, having these 2/3s for 1 mana is an incredible deal, both in terms of shutting down aggro decks. Like, I like to think that over the course of the Runeterra Open, we just showed a lot of the strength of having 2/3s on the board and shutting down aggro. And then just the 5 stats for 1 mana is an incredible deal along the way, especially if this transform thing starts to pop off. And so Bristlehog, I suspect, is going to be the real kind of unsung hero backbone type card in terms of a lot of transform decks, expecting a lot of strength out of him. And then Face Check being the last one here. Kind of interesting. We'll see what comes out of this as to whether or not you actually want to play a bunch of cards like Face Check. In terms of decks like Fairies, Fairies have been pretty happy to play cards like Face Sprout, but Face Sprout was also able to come out and generate a bunch of stuff like double dragons and elusives and the like, and so it gave you extra chances to hit your really high impact cards. And so as far as the cards we've seen go, not particularly interested in Face Check, but as more cards get spoiled, there's a very real chance that a lot of the ambush decks really want to include cards like this. And then you get to kind of go to the next level with it as well and think of cards like out of Bilgewater, with the Bilgewater themes of generating 1-cost cards in your hand, having that 1-cost sea sprout guy, whatever. I'm so bad at card names. The coral creatures, having coral creatures come down, generate a face checking into a unit. That's not the worst amount of value that you could ever be looking for. And so it's an interesting space to note when these come in. Also potentially, say, giving a Rise access to more units, since he can he include burst cards like this? I don't know. So you want someone to talk about Rise. I think I have played a total of 3 games with Rise in a deck, and so I think he has burst cards in his package. Maybe Rise can generate units with this. But nonetheless, exciting stuff. Very interesting right here from the start. I'm curious to see who's going to be coming out of the mix in terms of champions. I should be seeing it today. As this video is released tomorrow, you'll know who the new champion is. They typically show cards and then champion, then cards and then champion. So we'll see if the likes of Rengar or the likes of Nidalee turn up over the next day. But very exciting start as far as I'm concerned. Looking pretty good and interesting here. And so, back to the deck itself. Today, we're going to be playing Elise Teemo, and I wanted to kind of take off with this in a few different angles. Number one, the ranked season is about to end. If you're looking to hit Masters here at the end of the season, this is a fantastic deck to really help push that way. It's very fast. Your games are over quickly, so just as a matter of getting a bunch of games in, you can do this. You can probably get 2 games in while you take a dump at work, because where if you're playing Seraphine or something, you may only be able to get 1. Speaking of Seraphine, this has a fantastic matchup against Seraphine. The Seraphine decks just can't kill you fast enough, and so even just going with an almost complete burn route, you're able to beat them before they can get their Plaza Guardians on board. And then this deck is just, very well known for just taking down off-meta decks and taking down decks that need a bit of engine time to really get going. It's all around just fairly strong. And to this end, I'm kind of surprised that decks like this have taken so long to pop off in the Eternal format. As I think back to Magic and to modern formats, or to extended formats for some of you other boomers out there, it is very interesting in the sense that the formats would be so fast that cards like Jace the Mind Sculptor were unplayable, and cards like Cryptic Command were unplayable. And so the control decks that you would have running through the modern formats would much more look like Jund decks, or they would look much more like Asban style decks, as to where it would just be like a big removal pile. It would generate a lot of its card advantage just by having Tarmogoyf on the board, and if it was able to stall the game out until turn 5 or turn 6, it might be able to life gain a little bit and draw 1 extra card or something, and that was all it really took to survive against the aggro decks. But looking at a deck like Jund, it doesn't look like a traditional control deck, right? If you want to think of something like we see with, say, Annie Katarina, that's just this massive pile of removal with some card draw in it and a couple of finishers up at the top end, those decks were just non-existent because the formats were way too fast. And seeing decks like Teemo Elise rise up make me curious if this is the kind of path that we will see Eternal move towards in the future as more resources and more games get devoted to it and people kind of figure out these strategies. So it'd be interesting to see. But as far as this deck is concerned, we're going to be looking essentially towards the early game. And so the way all of these games are basically going to pace themselves out, we're going to try and get either a Teemo, an Elise, or a Boom Crew rookie down in the early game. By turn 4 or so, we're just not going to be able to attack anymore. So hopefully the Teemos and the Elises and the Boom Crew rookies got a couple of attacks in. And from that point forward, we're either going to hit from elusives or fearsomes. The Onlooker, the Augmented Clockling, the Elise, and the Teemo, maybe they can still crash through towards the end game. But more likely, we're just going to be sending burn to the face. And so this deck, if it's able to get the opponent down to about 8 health or so, very easy for it to just burn out the more traditional route with burn spells between the Get Exciteds, the Blowbacks, the Shock Blasts, and the Mystic Shots. But it does have these additional reach-style ways to get in the damage, with Boom Crew rookie still being able to attack and deal 2, the Doom Beast coming down and doing his ability, and then having the Fading Memories and the Unto Dusks to copy the Doom Beasts to have them do additional burns to the face. And so you'll typically find, around turn 4, turn 5, you're not going to be able to attack anymore, and you're going to have to go over top of your opponent's board to actually get that damage in. And so, hopefully we'll be able to showcase some of that a little bit in our games. I'm ready to jump on in, see if we can't get a good game or two in. This list we're playing here, this was Joku's list. If you watched us play in the top cut of the Runeterra Open, I believe we played him in the round of 64. Maybe it was the round of 32. I think it was the round of 64 we played. And this was his list from there. Very successful list. Targeting down the Seraphines of the world. And so, very powerful. But with this reasonable enough start, I don't want to be hardballing for Teemo. And you can kind of see this path to a strong early game to where on turn 2, we'll add an Elise or a Boom Crew rookie. And then on turn 3, we'll drop down another 2-drop along with the Stygian Onlooker. And then from that point forward, I would not suspect we'll be able to deal any more points of combat damage. And so, we'll see how it goes. We'll see how this pieces together. See if the sequencing works as it typically does. Start slamming in the old damages. Here's our friend Teemo. He says, what up? Ready to party. Not quite what I was expecting. With Viktor Aphelios, they have tons of early game plays. And so I was expecting more of a start that had 1-drops attached to it. This is still quite fine for us. We have the Boom Crew rookie. The Ballistic Bot can't kill it. We're going to punch in for 6 damage on the turn. And then if opponent doesn't devote more burn spells to the Boom Crew rookie, then we're going to get to attack with it again. Now, if you watched us play in that top cut, you would very frequently hear me say the most important thing that we can be doing right now is preventing every single point of damage coming at us. And so I do suspect from the opponent's end, they should have been blocking with their Ballistic Bot onto our Boom Crew rookie. I can't see their board, I can't see their hand to give you an exact answer to if that's the case, but every single point of damage is critical from the opposing deck's point of view. And I'm very surprised to see them not take the block onto the rookie.
Join me if you want to live.
Alright, Doom Beast in. Getting real close here. Gonna be open attacking next turn. My fear at this point starts to be the likes of Aphelios, right? And I want these combats to just kind of be done. And then we'll just start digging for burn spells with the Augmented Clockling. And so now we've got our opponent to 6. The only thing I think we really need to kind of watch for at this point is going to be Aphelios into the Lifesteal Weapon. And we do have our means in hand to kind of get out of that. So if he loads up the ballistic bot with that weapon, we can still look to, say, block with the onlooker and then kill off our own unit, and then prevent that lifesteal damage from coming in.
To choose death or the blade.
But let's see, Clockling turns up. Let's go with that get excited. Opponent's at 6. We have 6 damage of burn. I don't want to blow it all too quickly here. Some of these Aphelios decks do play star shaping, and I don't want to blow this 6 damage directly on the opponent, have them heal up, and then be able to get in a thing later with get in a hit later with this lifesteal weapon. Most assuredly just picked up the lifesteal card. But the thing that might be our saving grace at this point is the heal card costs 5, I think, right? I'm pretty certain those mathematics are on, and he can't play the lifesteal weapon and the heal, and so kind of a similar thing here. He only has 2 mana left, so if he wants to heal with the 2 mana heal thing, he won't have the mana to play Severum, so we should be in a pretty good spot. GG. But you say, you know, Bust, why does that 1 point of damage matter so much? Why did you fault the opponent for not blocking there? He was at exactly 6 right there at the end. If he had been at 7, we couldn't have burned him out. He would have had more opportunities to get that Severum on board. Very, very important. And so that's another reason I say these decks, you know, it's a very reasonable climb up to Masters. A lot of kind of conventional wisdom that you have in these card games, the value means everything and you can't card disadvantage yourself, don't really apply in this match. You very much have to be telling yourself, I'm here to prevent literally every single point of damage that I can, and then if the game drags on, I'm going to win. Like, our deck has no late game in comparison, right? He has Viktor and Aphelios in his deck. Both of those are just so super strong late game. What's our late game? Like Augmented Experimenter? Like, it just doesn't exist in that sense. And so as long as you can get to that turn 6, turn 7, the opposing deck is feeling much better. Alright, seems like the game broke though. Oh, there it goes. I was just getting ready to restart it. Don't need to. Opponent failed to connect. I'm going to count that as a win. I don't... It says victory, so that should count, right? Right? You're right, Bust. That should count. Thanks for your notes. Good stuff. Look at that. It's talking a smooth soloist on the list there. A Worlds competitor from last season. He also took this into the Runeterra Open. He played the triple burn lineup as well, featuring this and Pirates, and I believe he's been playing a lot of Samira Fizz. I think that was his lineup. I don't think he played Elusives over Pirates. I think he played this burn deck and then Samira Fizz and then Pirates. But I'm pretty certain he went like 9-1 on the first day. I'm not certain how his second day went, but props to the soloist. And all right, up against Pantheon Zoe. No block up against our Teemo. Very surprising to me, but I'll take it where we can. I'm just going to go ahead and drop in the block now. Just get the Zoe cleared out. See what turns up. Ooh, Elixir of Irons, absolutely. We should just be in pretty tip-top shape now.
My first big mission.
It's like there's some question in not blocking the Zoe. The way I kind of view that block onto Zoe is it's very expensive to get Crescent Strikes going, but you know there's a lot of very real things that can come out of that star chart, right? Even just the 0 cost Serpent unit can give opponent something to catch up with here, as they may not have a ton of early plays, and so Having the elixir come in was quite fine. This is one of these things, if I played another 50 games with this deck, I'd probably just let that attack through and accept opponent. Like, casting star charts is good for us, but I can see an argument either way. Alright. Elise, not dealing any damage, but she's still attacking. She's ready to summon that Spiderling, get those extra points of damage in. And a troll chant. Sure. Comes the squad. Fine to attack with the onlooker. It's still got the fearsome here, so Zoe can't actually block. She's going to be stuck either on the rookie or on the Spiderling. All right.
Time to go.
Curious the amount of, say, like AoEs that are going to come through this. I see Zoe Freylord and just assume that we're playing against Aurelion Sol, but and I don't think we have to worry. Alright, can't block Zoe this time. Inner Beasting it on up. We know about Inner Beast in our travels. we know that you have to worry about that 1 damage AoE from the stance swap. Fortunately, our board is pretty resilient in that sense. So with this, let's just go with the Mystic Shot. I can definitely see us playing a second Clockling next turn and then Mystic Shotting onto Zoe, trying to potentially get a full board of units through. Alright, ramp stance in.
So young.
Alright, no avalanches, please. If the strike goes in, the game's most certainly done. I think we're okay even if it doesn't. Like, these Fading Memories can do a lot of work in terms of copying the Clocklings and playing them again later. But most certainly closing things down if this attack rolls through.
We could use a bite.
Better run.
Tell a Boom Crew rookie, it's time to run. And Mihara. Sing. Alright. GG. Mahari's scary though. Like, it makes me feel a little bit better knowing that we can say, like, block Mahari with an elusive and then kill off our own unit. You're going to see that to be a fairly common play. Running across the course of this deck, if your opponent gets a lifesteal unit on the board, then you just block it and kill your own unit off. It's very, very common happenings. Alright, next battle though. What up, Teemo? You're ready to party? I'd like some more early game units here. Like, it's reasonable enough to hang on to Mystic Shot up against Jax. Ideally, excuse me, this isn't what our turn 2 is going to be. But I want something to do on turn 2. The Boom Crew rookies is just completely fine, but I don't want to just hard mulligan in this spot to find a 2 when we have a very good 2 that counters their good card.
Honoring Acacia by pounding bad guys.
Alright, let's see if it's successful. Needs a catch to try and stop this. Nothing to catch today. Hey, good stuff.
Of course I'm ready.
Be a little awkward in these upcoming turns. Like, if he plays a big improvise here that's capable of killing the Boom Crew rookie, we don't have a great way to activate the Nightfall on Doom Beast. But other than that, we're fine. Alright, we'll bring in the damage in.
I'll take everything.
I think I'm okay
Better run.
to just let this 2 go in. Like, the Ruthless Raider is actually not a bad copy for our Fading Memories, and so we'll see if that's what turns up on these upcoming turns. I doubt that we'll be in that space, copying the Ruthless Raider, but, well, we're going to copy it. I don't know if we'll be getting a second copy of it, but it seems reasonable so far. So man, in life, out there, outside of the worlds of Legends of Runeterra, I've been making my way through the Jason Bourne trilogy. It's been a long time. Those those movies came out. I think I was in college. I think the first one came out. I was in college in like the mid 2000s. And I think the first one came out in 2004, and so that kind of tracks in terms of a timeline. But man, I forgot how good those movies were. But I just watched the second one last night. The thing that really surprised me on the matter was if you watch the show on HBO Succession, the head Roy, the old guy, the patriarch of the family, he was in the Bourne Identity, and it doesn't like surprise me to see him in a major show. He's an esteemed actor, you know, but he just looked so much better in Succession, just in terms of like looks and healthiness and well-being, that it completely blew my mind, in the sense that you know, if this movie came out in like 2007 or whenever it was that, you know, the Bourne movie made its way, to look physically better 20 years later, it's kind of wild to me. But he was looking good. Props to you, Logan Roy. looking good, looking fit and trim out there. But all right, back into this game here. Interesting set here, right? We're definitely to the point where we just have to try and burn the opponent out. If he has a Bellows Breath here, this is going to be fairly abysmal, but I'm leaning towards just taking this unto Dusk. I feel like we need just like a bit more reach here than we get out of taking a burn spell. And so I'm kind of envisioning on these upcoming turns, we're going to probably just Unspeakable Horror to the face. I don't really care about the Nightfall. Follow up with Doom Beast and then Unto Dusk and get to draw the card and try and find more burn spells that way. Like, that all sounds pretty reasonable to me. But just picking the 3 damage thing doesn't feel like it gets us close enough if opponent's going to Bellows Breath here. Having to deal 13 is kind of a big number when we only have 9 damage in hand. It would have been 3 from the Blowback, assuming we had enough cards. 1 from the Horror, 2 from the Doom Beast, then 3 from the last remaining spell. But Fish Fight is fine. Get us done 2 points in. Well done, Augmented Clockling. You gonna get Troll Chanted? No. Alright, good stuff. As long as we don't see any of those heal bros on the next turn, I think we're gonna be in pretty good shape.
Tell me a story about Ornn, Hertha.
Once long ago, he stoked a fire
We got
beneath
pretty lucky in the open playing against this Teemo deck. I feel like over the course of the 3 games, I think we drew 8 of the innovative blacksmiths. You know what they say, better lucky than good. It's interesting, the two takes on it. You got your better lucky than good coming from the salt field that is Magic the Gathering, and then you have Phil Hellmuth over in the poker space saying that if luck wasn't involved, I'd win every single time. Just you gotta meet somewhere in the middle of the 2 salt fields, and as with life, have a little bit of balance in everything. All right, well, there's a Mender. Starting to cause some problems, but we'll bring in our Ruthless Raider. Still have decent blocks for the turn, not at any real risk of getting killed here. And then again, we're going to Doom Beast Unto Dusk. That's 4 damage here. Take the opponent to 10. The Augmented Clockling gets him down to 8. And then we got a little bit more work that we need to do. That's why I wanted to pick up this Unto Dusk. Let us just cycle through a little bit more. We need to find some more burn. Thinking hard on it, though. Big decisions being made out here. There you go. There's the attack. Nope. Send everybody. Send them all. He didn't send them all. He didn't listen to old Bust. He says, I want to get my +1/+1. My weaponsmith is going to apprentice. Do his equip. Do her equip. Do everybody's equip. Speaking in other lands of pop culture, I finally started making my way through the Lord of the Rings TV show. I hope it picks up at some point. I didn't realize it was like 16 episodes long. I thought it was going to be like a normal TV show these days where you get like 8 or 10 episodes when they're all an hour long. These bitches are all like 70 to 90 minutes long and 16 episodes long. They're still in the boring parts to where they're trying to develop story and develop background and stuff. It's tough. It's tough to get through. I love the scene in Clerks 2 where Randall's describing the Lord of the Rings movies. Just 10 hours of walking and you get to the end and go boop, drop the ring in and turn around and go home. That's what a lot of this one feels like as well. I'm hoping that they I feel like I'm like 5 or 6 episodes in and we're still just walking, you know. All right, what else do we got going here? We got our Doom Beast doing his thing. Let's go ahead and Unspeakable Horror that face as well. Maybe we'll pick up an interesting Nightfall like a Cygnus, right? Maybe Cygnus does something. Stygian Onlooker. You're not dealing any damages. You're gonna be blown away by the blowback.
I can do
All right. Well, assuming nothing goes wrong here, the Boom Crew rookie does get us to the lethal. We got the 10 damage off of our units on, or the 4 damage from our units on board, and then 6 damage in hand. So we still got a chance to close this one out. I mean, the big thing for opponent is if they're even able to kill us next turn, and so it's tough. Without something like Ornn, they may not be able to do it. Oh my god, this is so boring. Just roping intentionally, I think. These aren't real decisions that anyone's making here.
Just gonna put this here.
So we'll have to see next turn. If he open attacks, we can still hit him for 6, right? We have the blowback, get excited. Well, I guess we shouldn't be waiting until next turn, right? I'm so just like spaced out of this game. The dude's taken way too long for any of these decisions. But the blowback onto Innovative Blacksmith might be enough to keep him from healing on the next turn and let the Get Excited do its thing. So another very interesting space, actually just blocking with his best unit. So this is a real chance next turn, right? So if he doesn't have Ornn, he didn't play Ornn this turn, he may not have Ornn. Going into the next turn, with these units on board, like the Ruthless Raider, we can ignore. It's going to deal 5. If we block his 2 biggest units, we're only going to fall to 7. And so losing out on this Overwhelm is not very advisable. Nice.
Hope this works.
All right, well, don't get mad at me when we only get 4 games in today. Get mad at old opponent here. Guys, I so wish there was no Nosdormu mode. If you're not familiar with Nosdormu, it was a Hearthstone card, and when it came onto board, you just immediately started roping every single play, and so whatever like the rope timer was, 7 seconds or something, that was all you got, and just get so bored. Like, I don't know who's having fun here, but these decisions are so slow and boring. Whew. Alright, let's see. Can we play our burn spells? Do we have to wait more turns? The possibilities are endless. Ornn, okay. Alright. Let's give this a shot, see if we can't get this one over with. Probably want to let this one marinate and rope for a while too. Hey, there we go. Finally on to the next one. Jesus Christ. Okay. We're fighting through the most important of levels. I'm just going to assume opponent wasn't actually here and trying to play games at work or something. Trying to answer the old emails while you're playing a little bit of Legends of Runeterra. I hear you, bro. I hear you. But let's hang on to two of our cheaper plays, see if we can't find a Teemo or something in the early game, give us that big, nice, and full curve. Hasn't turned up, but still pretty reasonable start. So interesting choices here, like there's Teemo, right on time, dude, right on time. I think it's kind of tempting to lead in with the Elise, but the little Spiderling has so many good targets. I'm just gonna go with the Boom Crew rookie. I don't think opponent, well, the more after I played the rookie, I don't like it nearly as much, and thinking that, well, if opponent plays the fading icon, the 3-1, then we're not going to be as happy with the Boom Crew rookie as we would have been with the Elise. But the thing that I kind of had in head is like it gets very easy for them to start getting like really good Vile Feasts if we start attacking with the Elise instead. And so, man, opponent's just not doing anything. I don't know about that strategy, bro. I recommend putting some cards on the board. You heard the strategy here first. Put some cards on the board, you know? Make a play or two sometime. Interesting. Alright, well, keep passing. Interesting. We're gonna time trick. Just looking for burn at this point. I think I want to go with the Mystic Shot here. Well, we can get excited, actually. We have a bunch of Unspeakable Horrors in hand. Let's drop a Doom Beast. We can kind of convert these Unspeakable Horrors into additional cards that we can then discard to this other stuff. I don't think it matters at this point. I don't know what's going on with opponent's hand. Maybe they're just trying to make up for that last game where we had to sit around forever. But if you don't actually play any cards, I don't know how you're supposed to be successful, my dude. Weird. It's like you see some of those draws to where they get banked into the third turn, but you usually say like, oh man, I have to play a really bad Vengeance at this point or something, right? You don't want to be spending your 6 mana trying to Vengeance Elise, but sometimes that's just what you got to do to make it through the turn. All right, though. Not gonna drop the Stygian on Looker here. We'll save him for a couple of turns. See if we can't get a big Nightfall blast in 2 turns from now.
Oh boy, here I go!
Maybe we should have just played it. It's one of those spots that feels weird to me in the sense that, you know, we want to get the 4 damage in out of this guy, but we would have got the 4 damage in anyways, probably, if we just went ahead and played it and started attacking.
First one's free.
Alright, we'll go ahead and drop the Cask Salesman. We haven't talked too much about the used Cask Salesman because we haven't actually drawn him yet, but with him, you typically use this guy defensively, right? So imagine we're playing against a deck like Pirates. They have a board full of 3 units, and we only have our Elise. And then we get to drop the Cask Salesman onto the board. we get all the opportunities to come in and start blocking with these caustic casks. But
Brewing up some trouble.
here, since we just don't really have any plays, I don't want to be playing a removal spell onto Fizz and then trying to play the onlooker. Like, none of that sounds very good. So we'll just go ahead and play him offensively. But opponent hasn't learned our lessons. I mean, maybe they do want to keep these high-powered attackers on board, but
Hope you're ready to go out in a blaze of glory.
strikes me as more of a space to where
blaze of glory.
Prepared for anything.
he's not the aggro. I don't know. It's been a while since I played against Samira Fizz. I feel like they had a lot of single-target burn in it, but leaving Fizz at home is what I'm talking about here. Fizz could have had the block onto the cask salesman. But as this board goes, I've added Teemo. Teemo is highly susceptible to the likes of Samira, but I'm kind of envisioning us dropping a bunch of spells this turn and trying to counter a little bit of this stuff. And so he's going to flare. I'm okay with playing a single Unspeakable Horror onto the Fizz and then Mystic Shotting Samira. Alright, so we'll drop Mystic Shot. Let's actually just stop here. Like, if he plays an all-out, I think we'll want to actually take down the Samira and not try and interact with the Fizz. I think this is fine. Now that we're out of combat, let's drop the Unspeakable Horror. Okay. Works for me. Where are we at now? Cask Salesman number 2? Sure.
Won't find better this side of the sun.
Now it's a little scarier to try an Unspeakable Horror this Fizz. It's just much easier to get a flip and not actually get the kill from this. And so, not going to be doing any targeting here.
Hands off the merch.
Maybe after combat. So he wants to say, play a spell, flip the Fizz, block the Teemo, and then we can try an Unspeakable Horror after the fact. Something like that.
What's the hair?
Interesting. He's really invested in this Fizz. And we'll get the Dandy off of the board. There's a somewhat real chance that we actually get killed next turn, and so I'd like to try and remove the unit while we can. This is ideal, having this kind of stuff happen, right? Nox and Fervor not so excited about taking the damages, but in the sense that if opponent starts playing cards like All Out, right, we get the All Outs out of hand before he's able to attack. That's pretty juicy for our squad. Can't do anything about that though. How big is this? Oh, it's only 2. Never mind. I take that back. I just assume at this stage of the game he's going to he's gonna play that for like $1 million. Bust says, I take it back.
Maybe you need a closer look.
So how much do we care about the Fizz? I think we do. Well, we can't afford to get excited here. Maybe if he plays another card, we'll jump in at the end, but we're banking too much on this, like, Unto Dusk doing stuff next turn. I don't feel really comfortable discarding either of those cards. But opponent's out of stuff in hand. It's a good start. See if he just deploys that Nox and Fervor right to the face. See if it comes in.
Another day in the field.
Alright, I'm ready to attack now. Elegant Edge. Alright, well, I'll take whatever we can get. Oh, he falls to 3. I don't know, man. I don't know about that. This Fizz could have prevented like 9 damage across the course of the game if he just blocked 8 years ago. I don't know. It's tough to tell without seeing the opposing side of the board, you know, given that they have to make the decision of can I actually win the game without this Fizz? And maybe they can, you know. But could have been a lot of damage prevention rolling through there. Okay, alright, well, we are approaching the hour mark, but I think we can get one more game in. See if we can't get this game number 7, and that's been pretty good, man. That's pretty good. That's how fast this deck is, right? In the sense that we did a like 10-minute longer intro talking about those new cards. That one opponent was roping every turn, taking away a lot of our game time, and still being close to getting in 8 games in under an hour. Pretty good. Pretty good. Especially when we've won all of them, right? That's what helps you climb the ladder even more. All right, now we're up against Karma Sett. We'll get rid of the Fading Memories. I was trying to think in my head like how comfortable we feel in terms of like copying this onlooker and getting realistically strong onlooker attacks in early. I don't think the chances are very high. So I'm just going to go ahead and drop him. I don't like how we did it in the last game. Like, it does suck if the onlooker runs into Vile Feast, especially if we're making this curve to where we play Elise, and now he Vile Feasts the onlooker and then gets to put the Spiderling in front of the other Spiderling. But if he doesn't have Vile Feast, I think I like our start a lot more. Alright. Zing him in. Alright, I'm gonna drop my squad, dude. Here they come. There's a bit of stuff to worry about from this dumb deck. Like, I assume that it plays Withering Whales. I'm gonna assume he doesn't have Vile Feast in this space. The box is fine. Another angle to hit these guys. It's kind of impossible to play around all of it. But still got good attacks coming in. Taking a 3 bank on the turn isn't terrible, as we're starting to get into the Doom Beast zone. Lets us play a burn spell, play a Doom Beast, whatever.
Drink or news. I've got both.
There's the guys we don't want to be seeing, though. Don't want to be seeing that.
Our stuff's top notch. Something for your nerves, boss.
Nah,
And Sett, a little scary.
Second of the action.
Like, there's a very real chance if we just pass, he's gonna pass, so we have to start adding stuff to the board. Let's add in Boom Crew Rookie. I imagine that he's still just gonna hook Elise, so I don't feel as bad adding the rookie. Opponent disagrees. He says the rookie's too good.
Backfired.
Wonder if he does have Withering Whale in hand. Alright, well, we get that extra attacker this way. That's kind of nice.
You won't suffer long.
Let's throw down.
Blocks our bigs. Uh-oh. Oh, no. I meant to... that's a disaster right there. I meant to copy our Doom Beast. I was planning on playing double Doom Beast this turn.
Whip up anything special for tonight?
I call it
That's not good.
It's got cherries.
It's not good. Oh. I think we have to go about it in this fashion. Let's just drop in the blowback. I don't really want to be discarding stuff at this stage. And then we'll still add in the Doom Beast.
Have another.
Alright, take him to 11. Pretty far away. We need to start picking up like augmented clocklings to try and fight through this.
No holds barred. I saw you looking at me.
drop him to 7. Or 9.
Hey, May, we
Oh
put
my
anything
gosh, so much
special for
heal.
tonight?
I call it pit grit. It's got cherries.
Alright, this one's looking further and further away. I'm going to go ahead and just drop the Unspeakable Horror. It's kind of like eyeballing it onto Sett. I don't think we ever win the game if we're just going to Unspeakable Horror onto Sett. We need to hit a Cygnus or we need to hit a Winding Light. We did manage to hit a Cygnus, which can be could be the game breaker that we needed. Still, pretty tough. The Karma Sett deck plays just a literal mountain of removal spells, and so I wouldn't be surprised to see him get hit with a Concussive Palm or something, but... Okay. GG. Alright. Not bad. Not a bad day at the office. We can pull this up, talk about it a little bit more. And so again, I feel like we really hit the highlights on a lot of the strengths against this deck. We didn't manage to play against Samira Seraphine, but against all the random stuff that we came up against, we dispatched it all pretty easy. We had a pretty decent time against Jax Ornn. The only thing that we really struggled against on the day was playing the dedicated kind of real anti-aggro deck in Karma Sett, which is, that's part of the stuff you're going to run into. But I don't think I've honestly played against Karma Sett more than 5 times across the past month, and that is fantastic. That's amazing. I love living that kind of life. But again, very powerful stuff here. You're going to try and get that early aggro in first 3 or 4 turns of the game. You're going to say, oops, the aggro stuff's done. Maybe I'll elude. Probably not. But after that, just send all the burn to the face. The classic aggro strategy. No Noxus to be found, but doesn't mean you can't still do your aggro thing. And so, good stuff. I had fun with that. I hope you did too, because that is going to do it for us today. And so I hope everyone enjoyed the video. Hope we maybe learned a thing or two along the way. You had a good time watching. So this is Bust, and we thank you for being here.